What's the worst defense you've seen someone make in a court? We had a guy in court when I worked in CPS who beat his kid with a belt. In court, he asked the judge if he could take off his belt and demonstrate how hard he hit his kid by using his jacket on the back of a chair. The judge was like, whatevs, go for it. I was expecting him to half-ass it, but the guy wailed on the chair until the bailiff told him that's enough. The entire courtroom was like, holy shit dude. And that's how I got quite possibly the easiest child removal to date. Not that I had any thought I'd lose the case, the pictures were horrific and that kid will have scars from that beating for life. I took a guy to small claims court. His defense was I didn't have the product, so I couldn't ship it to him, obviously. The judge was like, but you took his money? The guy, yay, so I could buy the product and ship it to him. Judge, did you do that? Guy, not yet. Judge, do you have his money? Guy, no, I had an emergency and had to spend it. That was that, I won. I took a guy to small claims court because his employee/stepson installed the wrong size air handler and installed it backwards. The guy's claim was that he, personally, did not install it and that his stepson was useless. I won because it was his employee that did the work incorrectly. Afterwards the guy asked if he could come get the air handler, told him no, he should have done that in the first place. I probably could have sued him for more. After giving us the verdict, the judge gave me directions of where to go to file for suing out of small claims court and what paperwork I needed. I saw this go down while waiting for my traffic ticket. Judge, so, you were seen pulling a stop sign out of the ground and throwing it in the river. Accused, yes, sir. J, were you drunk? A, no, sir. J, the ticket says you were intoxicated. A, no, sir. J, okay, let's say I believe you. I will throw out this drunk and disorderly charge. A, thank you, sir. J, but, I will have to charge you with the destruction of government property and endangering the public. That comes with at least a year in jail. So I'll ask one more time. Were you drunk? A, yes, sir. Very drunk, sir. My sister told the judge that the light wasn't that red. Then he said he was going to suspend her license and she said, but my dad already took it away. My mom actually did the same thing years ago. She got caught on camera making a right turn on red without stopping fully. The video and screenshot showed on that day as the sun was setting, the red light did look kinda orange due to the lighting. She did end up getting her fine reduced in court, not because of the color of the light, but because she was originally fined for running a red light, which carried a more severe fine than turning right on red without fully stopping. I defended a guy on a DUI that jumped into the backseat after he got pulled over, and claimed someone else was driving. He was the only one in the car. He was here a second ago. Me drive? Oh hell no, I'm too messed up. Aggravated criminal sodomy, the defense attorney said the rape only lasted for a minute. Ah yes, the Brock the Rapist Turner defense. The convicted rapist Brock Turner used that defense? Yes, convicted rapist Brock the Rapist Turner, who is convicted of rape, used that defense in his rape case. I never touched my daughters, I never hurt my daughters, never would I sexually abuse my daughters. Except that one time at the cabin. The guy became an instant meme in our country/language. Reminds me of a recent case here in Edmonton. Man convicted to 23 years for sexually assaulting his daughters and trying to sell one/both online for sex. Said he agreed he was guilty in the eyes of the law, but felt he did nothing wrong since he was married to the girl, also his daughter, and the Bible says it's allowed between a man and his wife. The judge let the man talk for 3 whole hours. It says here you were drinking and driving, Judge. No sir. I drank then I drove, a guilty guy. At least he's honest. Stupid, but honest. A domestic abuse case, the husband was the accused. The couple was in their late 70s or early 80s. When asked if he did indeed abuse his wife, the husband started complaining that some 40 years ago the wife pretended to be ill and he had to do the laundry all by himself, as if he expected the judge to just go, "Oh, okay, I guess that's school then." That's actually how the abusive mind works. It perceives itself as the victim of disrespect, injustice, cruelty, and it believes it must avenge itself. That's why abusers don't begin a relationship at the abusive phase. They have yet to have a reason they see to apply corrective measures. It's also why abusers pretty much never change. It's cliché and trite by now, but seriously, 50 Shades series shows the mind of an abuser perfectly in how Christian simply must act when he justifies what he says. For full horror, the prototype of the fanfic that became 50 Shades was written from the perspective of proto-Christian, and Erica, author's real name, is also a petty, vindictive person IRL. So the tale is pretty much an abuser's fantasy about how their perfect abuse victim learned to lose their agency and just cave to them completely. Yikes. I was in traffic court and the first guy to go before the judge got pulled over doing some crazy speed, like 140 miles per hour. The judge essentially told the guy to say he wouldn't ever do it again and that it was a mistake, and in return, the judge would drop the ticket fee and the points on his record. The guy countered with, "Well, I drive that fast all the time, so I'm really good at it, and I don't think it was dangerous at all because of how good of a driver I am." Guy could have walked out totally free, but instead got a $2,500 fine and 2 points on his record. Reminds me of a story about Butch Cassidy, the famous robber in the Old West. He was captured in Wyoming and brought before a judge. The judge said that he would let him go if he promised never to break the law again. Cassidy said that he couldn't do that, but he would promise never to break the law in Wyoming. And the judge took that deal and Cassidy lived up to it. Anytime his gang planned a job in Wyoming he opted out. I watched a friend try a DWI case. Her client testified that she wasn't drunk while driving, and therefore not guilty, because she was actually high on meth at the time. My friend put her head down and started hitting her head against the desk. Guilty. Of course his DNA, semen, was in the alley behind his apartment, where a sexual assault took place. Where else would you expect to find your DNA except where you lived? What, am I gonna jerk off in my own home? Are you some sort of pervert? Of course I do that outside. I was a juror for a case against a woman that was charged with selling a stolen gun to a pawnbroker and possession of a gun by a convicted felon. She took the stand and admitted to finding the gun at a friend's house and taking it to the pawnbroker. Her attorney's entire closing argument was that the state failed to prove that it was a gun and the charges should be dropped. Never mind the fact that she admitted to it being a gun, the guy that owned the gun said it was his gun and we had it right there in front of us. The defense said it was not a gun because the state had not fired it to prove it was a gun. And of course as soon as we get back to the room to deliberate, one of the other jurors said he was not convinced it was a real gun. That was a really long day. I got caught with 35 grams of weed when the cops came into where I was living. They never tested it, and when the prosecutor kept bringing up cannabis, my lawyer pointed out that they never actually tested the green plant matter in question. Sure enough, judge was like, "Yep, you're right. Green plant matter it is." I know this isn't the same thing, but it just reminded me of that situation which nearly made me laugh in court. Friend of mine once got a ticket for leaving her car standing in the marked-off no parking zone in front of a grocery store, which she thought was outrageous because she was just running in to get a pack of smokes. Then she saw how much the ticket was for, something like $120, which she thought was just ridiculous because damn it, she was just running in for a pack of smokes. I mean, come on, how is that worth $120? So her plan was to go to court and contest the ticket and point out to the judge how ridiculous that was and offer to compromise at like maybe $40 because for Pete's sake, she was just running in for a pack of smokes and let's be reasonable here. Yes, her plan was to haggle with the judge over how much the ticket should be worth. So she goes to court and sits there most of the day waiting for her case to be called. And eventually she gets bored and goes outside to grab a smoke and hang out. And while she's out there, her case is called. She missed the whole thing, didn't even get to try the whole come on, $120. For that? Come on, I'll give you $40 and even that's highway robbery defense on the judge and got hit for the full value of the ticket plus court costs. Ted Bundy jumping out of the courthouse window and running probably didn't do much to convince people he was innocent. Best defense is a good offense. He was just trying to run it in for a touchdown on 4th down. Sexual assault trial we had this past summer. Guy brutally raped a woman in a park, then took her bike and ATM card. A few minutes later he is recorded withdrawing $80 from her account. He is arrested within hours of the assault. At trial, he testified that the sex was consensual and the victim enjoyed performing oral on him so much that she gave him the bike and ATM card to show her appreciation and that someone else came along and beat her after he left. He also practiced his planned testimony with an inmate who had just been sentenced on a gun charge and bragged about the sexual assault in detail. That inmate threw him under the bus and testified against him. Gun charge inmate freely admitted he hoped rapist would wind up in the same prison he did so he could hand out some rec-yard justice. Running dope and guns was one thing, but he couldn't tolerate someone touching a woman. It didn't take long for a guilty verdict and life sentence.